The alarms were screaming so loudly that the whole prison seemed to shake. Red lights flashed across the long concrete hallways of Fleury-Mérogis as correctional officers rushed in every direction. In the middle of the chaos stood a single empty cell, cell 417, its metal door twisted as if someone had ripped it open from the inside. A young officer named Daniel Brooks stared at it, frozen. Moments earlier, 2 inmates inside that cell had been quietly talking. Now one of them was missing, and the other was found whispering words that investigators would later call extremely dangerous. Daniel's radio crackled. All units, lockdown. Possible radical cell activation. Repeat lockdown. As the hallway darkened and the steel gates slammed shut one by one, Daniel realized something terrifying. This didn't feel like a normal escape attempt. It felt planned, rehearsed, like someone had been waiting for this exact moment. And then, from deep inside the prison, came a sound that made every officer stop moving. A roar, a crowd, a rising wave of voices chanting the same words, the same ones found scribbled on a piece of paper inside cell 417. Daniel grabbed the bars beside him as the noise grew louder, closer. And then suddenly, silence. A silence so strong it felt like the entire prison was holding its breath. Before Daniel could move, his radio buzzed again with a trembling voice. Unit 12 to command. We found something in Block D. You're not going to believe what's happening in there. And that was where the nightmare truly began. Hours earlier, before the alarms, before the missing inmate, before the chanting, Fleury-Mérogis seemed almost quiet as Europe's largest mega-prison could ever be. The complex sat just outside Paris, but the story you are about to hear is told for an American audience, and so the voices leading it, investigators, guards, and even former inmates, will be names you know well. Daniel Brooks, a correctional officer from Minnesota, had arrived only 3 months earlier. He thought he had seen tough prisons back in the United States, but nothing prepared him for this place. Fleury-Mérogis held thousands of inmates, far more than it was ever meant to. Every hallway was crowded. Every yard felt tense. Every shadow seemed to hide a secret. On that particular morning, Daniel walked down the main corridor with his partner, Officer Lucas Carter. They were headed to oversee a routine movement of inmates to the library. But in Fleury-Mérogis, nothing ever stayed routine. Near cell 417, Daniel noticed something odd. 2 inmates, both Americans transferred from overseas cases, were whispering in a corner during recreation hours. One was named Jamal Turner, quiet and nervous. The other, Marcus Hale, was the type of inmate other prisoners avoided. Not because he was the biggest or strongest, but because he had a way of talking that made people lean in. Almost like he could pull thoughts straight out of their heads. Daniel had no proof, but something about Marcus felt wrong. Later that afternoon, during cell checks, Daniel saw Marcus and Jamal sitting close, heads bowed, speaking so softly he couldn't catch a word. When Daniel stepped closer, Marcus stopped talking instantly and stared at him with calm, steady eyes. "Everything good in here?" Daniel asked. Marcus smiled. "Better than you think." Something about that smile stayed in Daniel's mind for the rest of the day. By evening, rumors were swirling among the guards. Gang activity had picked up again. A few officers mentioned hearing strange messages being passed between inmates from different blocks, messages that didn't sound like normal prison talk. Still, nothing seemed urgent enough for Daniel to report. Then night came and the power flickered. Only for a second, but long enough for the cameras on one section of Block D to reboot. Long enough for something to happen in cell 417. Daniel was the first to reach the cell after the alarm was triggered. The moment he saw the twisted door, he knew this wasn't caused by a simple fight or a slip tool. Something bigger was happening. Something dangerous. Before he could investigate further, a thunderous crash echoed through the block, an extreme event that made the floor tremble under his boots. Daniel spun toward the noise, and what he saw made his stomach drop. Daniel's heart slammed against his chest as he stepped toward the noise. Smoke drifted through the hallway, and the sharp smell of burning plastic filled the air. Officers were shouting from every direction, but one sound overpowered all of them. A deep, rumbling thud from somewhere below, like something heavy had been slammed against the floor with full force. "Brooks, Carter, with me," Captain Reynolds yelled as he stormed toward them. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed something else: fear. Daniel followed him down the stairwell that led to Block D's lower level. The lights flickered again, and this time they didn't come back right away. In the darkness, Daniel felt the rail shake under his hand. Someone below was banging on something, again and again. When the emergency lights finally snapped on, Daniel froze mid-step. A hole, an actual hole, had been smashed through the wall at the end of the hallway. Chunks of concrete lay everywhere. Water sprayed from a broken pipe, turning the floor into a slippery mess. And standing in the middle of it all was Jamal Turner, the nervous inmate from cell 417. His hands were bleeding, his face was pale, and he looked terrified. As officers surrounded him, Jamal dropped to his knees. "I didn't do this," he cried. "You think I could break through a wall like that? He made me open the door. He told me something bad was coming." "Who?" Captain Reynolds demanded. Jamal looked up slowly, shaking, eyes wide with panic. "Marcus. Marcus Hale. He's not alone. You think he's just some guy, but he's connected. Really connected." Daniel felt a chill run through him. He had sensed something off about Marcus since the first day. Reynolds ordered Jamal restrained and moved to isolation immediately. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that Jamal wasn't lying. No one could punch through a wall like that. It had to be started from the other side or with help. As they escorted Jamal away, Daniel noticed something strange on the floor near the broken wall: a notebook. It was damp from the spraying water, but the writing inside was still clear. Page after page was filled with strange symbols, arrows pointing to different cell numbers, and lines like, "Recruitment complete. Signal waits for the dark. Phase 2 starts in Block F." Daniel's stomach tightened. He didn't know exactly what these notes meant, but it was obvious they were not prison doodles. Later that night, after the block was secured, Daniel met with Lucas Carter in the small guard break room. Lucas looked tense, rubbing his hands together. "You think this is connected to what happened back in the States?" Lucas whispered. Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" "Those attacks last year," Lucas said quietly. "Investigators said at least one person had been influenced inside this place. And now this? Recruits? Signals? Phases? Man, I don't like this." Daniel didn't like it either. The idea that someone could be turning Fleury-Mérogis into a breeding ground for something bigger made his chest tighten. As they spoke, a sudden scream echoed through the corridor. At first, Daniel thought it was an inmate. But no, the voice was higher, sharper. A guard. Daniel and Lucas bolted from the room. Down the hallway, 2 officers were struggling to keep the door of the segregation unit closed. Something, or someone, was slamming against it from the inside with terrifying strength. "What's happening?" Daniel shouted. One of the officers yelled back, "He's losing it." Jamal. The moment he heard they moved Marcus to Block F, he started screaming that we were too late. Daniel felt his breath catch. Marcus had already been moved. The banging inside grew louder, harder. The metal door bent inward slightly with each hit. If Jamal kept going like that, the hinges would snap. "Back up," Captain Reynolds ordered as he arrived with a stun team. But Jamal's voice cut through the noise, shaking and desperate. "You don't understand. He's starting it. Block F. He's starting it right now." The officers exchanged worried looks. Nobody wanted to believe him. But deep down, Daniel knew Jamal wasn't making this up. Marcus wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was moving with purpose toward Block F. Reynolds turned to Daniel and Lucas. "You two, with me. We're going to Block F." The 3 of them rushed down the hall, boots splashing through water puddles and echoing against the concrete. As they approached Block F, the overhead lights dimmed again. A low hum vibrated through the air, followed by a sharp crack. When the final gate slid open, Daniel stepped inside, and his blood ran ice cold. Every single inmate in Block F was standing perfectly still in their cells. Every head turned toward him at the exact same moment. Every pair of eyes staring, waiting. Then, at the far end of the block, Marcus Hale stepped out of the shadows with a calm, eerie smile, as if he had been expecting Daniel all along. And that was when an extreme event struck, something Daniel would never forget. Daniel's breath caught in his throat as Marcus Hale stepped out from the shadows of Block F. The emergency lights flickered behind him, turning his figure into a shifting silhouette, calm, steady, and terrifying. The other inmates didn't move. They didn't blink. They simply watched, standing perfectly still like soldiers waiting for a command. Marcus clasped his hands behind his back. "Officer Brooks," he said softly, his voice echoing through the block, "you're right on time." Daniel raised his flashlight, trying to steady his shaking hand. "Marcus, what did you do?" Marcus tilted his head slightly. "Nothing yet. But something has already begun." Captain Reynolds stepped forward. "Hale, put your hands where we can see them. Now." Marcus ignored him. His eyes stayed on Daniel. "You read the notebook, didn't you? Recruitment, signals, phases. You know what this place has become." He raised a hand, pointing slowly to the rows of motionless inmates. "You think they're sleeping? No, they're listening." Daniel felt the air grow heavier, as if the entire block was holding a breath. Then Marcus whispered a single phrase, so quietly Daniel barely heard it. And every inmate suddenly dropped to their knees at the exact same moment. The sound, hundreds of bodies hitting concrete, shot through the block like a thunderclap. Lucas instinctively took a step back. Reynolds' face drained of color. Daniel had never seen anything like this. Not in any prison, not anywhere. "These men," Marcus continued, "have been broken for years. Split apart, hungry for meaning, for purpose. It wasn't hard to help them find one. Purpose." Reynolds yelled, "You're manipulating them." Marcus gave a small smile. "I didn't force anything. I simply organized." Before anyone could move, Marcus snapped his fingers. Every inmate stood up again. Daniel's heart slammed into his ribs. "This is impossible," he whispered. Marcus took another step forward. "You want to understand? Fine." It started with whispers, messages, promises. This prison is overcrowded, understaffed, forgotten. In places like these, belief grows faster than fear. And now, he spread his arms slowly. Now belief is stronger than the walls. Suddenly, from the upper tier, an inmate slammed his fists against the bars and shouted something Daniel didn't understand. Another inmate answered. Then another. Within seconds, dozens were shouting, call and response, perfectly synchronized. "Reynolds," Lucas whispered, "we need backup." But Reynolds didn't reply. He was staring at Marcus, whose eyes had grown colder, sharper. "You think you still have control," Marcus said. "But this block, this moment has been ready for weeks." Daniel took a cautious step toward him. "Marcus, whatever you planned, it ends here." Marcus chuckled. "Officer Brooks, it hasn't even started." He lifted one hand, and the inmates closest to the front of their cells suddenly charged their bars, shaking them violently. Metal clanged through the block like thunder. Alarms blared overhead. Sparks flew from the locking mechanisms. Reynolds grabbed his radio. "Control, we need a full tactical team in Block F immediately. We have a coordinated breach attempt. Repeat, coordinated breach. Static. Only static." Lucas cursed under his breath. "They cut comms." "How did they cut the comms?" Marcus took another step forward. "You see? Phase 2. Daniel lunged at him, but Marcus moved faster than expected, dodging left as two inmates reached through their bars, grabbing for Daniel's uniform. He stumbled back, barely escaping their grasp. The entire block was shaking now, hundreds of hands pounding metal. Hundreds of voices rising in chaotic unison. Marcus stood at the center of it all, calm as ever. "You tried to stop something that was already in motion," he said. "But don't worry. You'll understand Phase 3 soon enough." Suddenly, a massive boom echoed through the block, so loud Daniel thought the ceiling had collapsed. Dust rained down. Lights burst overhead, showering sparks across the floor. Then, a second explosion shook the entire structure. Daniel spun toward the stairwell, and his stomach dropped. Flames. Actual flames licking up from the lower level. Someone had set off an improvised blast inside Block F's maintenance tunnel. The inmates roared louder than ever. Alarms wailed. Smoke poured into the block. And Marcus Hale, still calm, still smiling, whispered, "Phase 3 begins now." Daniel barely had time to raise his arm as a wall of heat and smoke rushed toward them, swallowing the block in burning chaos.